Oh my god, she's a weirdo.
Hello, 'tis I, Fat Cow. This video should be quite short. There's just a couple of things I want to address with regards to Foodie. Foodie claims she needed her marriage certificate to cross the border into Syria. No, you don't need a marriage certificate to enter Syria. In fact, all you need is a passport that is valid for 6 months. That's it, currently. I have said for a very, very long time that Foodie isn't legally married because in Kuwait she's not legally married, and this is why. The loophole that got her married was that she had a civil ceremony and married as not being Muslim. Now, as Muslim men are only allowed to marry Muslim women, Christian women or Jewish women, I'd imagine that Foodie claimed to be Christian. Whether she knew this or not is another matter. She may have thought she was being married as a Muslim to a Muslim, but on a tourist visa you cannot do that. You have to have a religious ceremony. So the loophole was marrying as a non-Muslim, but there's a catch. That civil marriage is not recognised in any country that is ruled by Islamic law, which includes Kuwait, and therefore that marriage wasn't legally recognised in Kuwait. Oddly enough, Syria is also run by Muslim law as well as French and some civil law, but predominantly Muslim law, and as a result the civil marriage, this loophole marriage, isn't recognised in Syria either. So there's that. Yes, I now concede there was a marriage ceremony. There is a marriage contract. There is a certificate. However, it doesn't do shit because it's not recognised in any country that is under Muslim law. So that certificate was never recognised in Kuwait unless they then went to a different court and registered it as a religious marriage. Additionally, this is the loophole that would have allowed Foodie to get married as a tourist. We know it's not legally recognised in Kuwait because Foodie continued to be a tourist during her entire time there. Let's get this straight. I take back my accusations of there not being any possibility of any type of marriage whatsoever. There's now a civil marriage that's possible as a tourist, but only if Salah married Foodie, with Foodie claiming to be either Christian or Jewish. Again, whether Foodie knows this or not is another matter. For all we know, she just knows there was a ceremony and a certificate. So maybe she was told there was a loophole and she just accepted that without an explanation. But that is the only loophole, and sorry Foodie, your marriage certificate is not legal in Kuwait. It's not legal in Syria either. And that's it. There is no other loopholes that can be circumnavigated, let's say. Which, incidentally enough, leads to what did Salah do to facilitate his rapid departure from Kuwait? We know what Foodie did, but Salah, didn't have to bugger off. He has residency, he had more rights. He wasn't directly accused of various crimes. And at most, he probably would have been fined. And I would imagine facing a fine would be preferable than going to Syria, whether it is his country of origin, as in his nationality, he wasn't born there, or not. What could he possibly be facing repercussion-wise that would give him the incentive to leave and go to a war-torn country such as Syria? Well, we now know that they were definitely, without question, not legally married in the eyes of Kuwaiti law, and therefore cohabitated for 2.5+ years. Now, cohabitation is against the law in Kuwait, and the punishment is 7 years in jail. That's quite a punishment that could be motivation enough to leave the country. We also know that Salah is guilty of distribution of porn. We know this because of the messages he sent to Kybella. Now that is a fine, and, well, owning porn and looking at porn is 1 year in prison. The distribution of porn is slightly more, is 3 years of imprisonment plus fines. So that's not good. So maybe that's motivation to leave for Syria, who knows. Now, there is some speculation that Salah had to leave Kuwait because of the investigations that have been brought up towards Foodie and indirectly to Salah, that the authorities would look more deeply into Salah's activities, and that there was a suggestion that possibly if Salah was found to be doing a certain something, it would also implicate Murad, something to do with possibly the perfume business. Now, I hardly believe it's a front for dealing drugs. If they were dealing drugs, I think Salah wouldn't even needed to, try and scam Foodie for money. It's quite a lucrative business. I do suspect, however, money laundering. Now, I want to stress, I am not actively accusing anybody of anything. This is a suspicion, a conspiracy, putting a thought out there as to why somebody would leave one place and go to an arguably more difficult to live in place. I'm not accusing anybody of anything. This is my opinions. I'm not stating these as facts. Opinions, speculations, not facts. Now, the penalty for money laundering is very severe also. It leads to imprisonment of 10 years and a fine of 1.6 million American dollars. I'll let that sit with you. If the authorities had investigated Salah further as a consequence of Foodie doing illegal things, and it was found that Vandelay fragrances could possibly be a front for money laundering, a speculation, a conspiracy idea, an opinion, a thought process, not a fact, Salah Murad would face 10 years in jail and 1.62 million American dollars each worth of fines. Now that is a very, very, very good reason to leave the comfort of your home and your immediate family and go and reside in a impoverished, war-torn country that has food shortages and power outrages and power shortages too. Anyway, I'll just leave that with you.